Hi, this is Rachel at the Crystal Tree, and today I'm going to be talking about polymer clay and the different types of clay that you can actually purchase. I'll also be talking about different chemicals on how to clean up after your polymer clay, and I'm also going to talk about gloves that you can also wear. For the beginner, I'd like to suggest Sculpey 3. It comes in a large pack of 12. It can also come individual. It's a soft clay. It comes in several different colors. It's about $10 for this pack. You can buy it online or at any craft store that carries the Sculpey products. I did use it when I first started out, and I found I do like working with polymer clay, but I found that this clay was too soft for what I wanted to do. The versatility in it wasn't very good. It also left fingerprints, and I prefer my clay to be nice and smooth, and I'll go into that now. The types of clays that I prefer to work with are Primo and Fimo. Primo comes in several different colors. It's a harder clay. You can get more detail with it, and you can work with it longer than you could with the Sculpey clay. It runs for about $2.49, and the only thing that I don't really care for is that when you do bake it, it does color slightly and get a little bit darker. But if you're alright with that, this is a good clay to go with. My favorite, though, and the most expensive, is called Fimo, and it comes with several different types of effects. This is Fimo Effect, and there's a Fimo Classic. It's about the same as Primo when working with it. They're both of a harder clay. They both capture detail quite nicely, and they don't pick up the fingerprints as easily. Fimo is a little bit more expensive. It's about $2.79. They both bake at different temperatures, so if you do work with this, definitely read up on the side label on the Primo and on the front what their temperatures are when baking them. One thing I like to suggest when baking your clays is to pay close attention to them. You can bake them more than once, but you have to be careful that they may actually burn. That's why I suggest to read the labels before using them when baking, because they can release a chemical that is harmful to human beings. If you do burn this, what you do is you open up your oven, turn it off, open all the windows, and leave the room and let it air out. Then I also want you to clean out your oven afterwards. I have yet to burn my Primo or even my Fimo, my polymer clays. I've been working with them for almost 2 years now, and I've never really had a problem with it. They also cook at different temperatures depending on how thick you make your project. Now, when cleaning off your items and also cleaning off the surfaces, I like to work with alcohol. This is rubbing alcohol. This is 70% proof. You can get 80 and 90. It really, as long as it's rubbing alcohol, it should work. You can go to Walgreens, Rite Aid, or any pharmaceutical area that carries rubbing alcohol. What I suggest is that, let's say you're working with your clay and you get some fingerprint marks on them, and let's say you pick up some lint. What I like to say is that just put it off to the side, and the clay, after maybe 20 minutes just sitting by itself, maybe you're working on another project, it hardens and a little bit, and so it makes it easier for you to pick it up. It will less likely pick your fingerprints up. And I suggest you take your Q-tip and dip it in some rubbing alcohol, and you can wipe it over your clay. It actually has a chemical reaction to the clay and actually starts to dissolve the clay a little bit. That's why I don't suggest pouring it onto the actual clay. You don't want to melt your clay. And if you do this, it will actually remove the fingerprint slightly. It will clean off any smudge marks that you might have gotten, maybe some residue from another darker clay that you were working on, especially when you're working with white. And it will also help pick up any lint or hair. Then you let it sit for a few minutes to let the alcohol evaporate off, and then you can stick it in the oven and bake it. I don't think you should. It doesn't work, I've tried it, where if you bake it in the oven before cleaning it off afterwards, the rubbing alcohol doesn't work on the clay, because now the clay is more of a hard plastic, and the rubbing alcohol actually won't do anything to the clay at all. Then the last thing I'd like to talk about are gloves. Some people like to work with their hands because they like the way the clay feels in their hand. I, on the other hand, do like to work with gloves because I don't like to leave fingerprints on my clay. I also don't like the way the clay feels. It leaves a residue on my hands, and even when I wash my hands, I still feel like I don't get it off. They do suggest to wash your hands thoroughly after working with polymer clay because it does have a chemical. I also suggest you be careful to avoid contact with your clothing with polymer clay because it can and has been known to dye your clothing. So if you're wearing something nice, don't let it near your clothing because if it does get on there, it could actually dye your clothing. The glove is really nice. It's a latex-free glove. I like to wear the smaller ones because they're fit close to the hand, and it doesn't leave as many fingerprints when I'm working with the clay, and then also it doesn't leave a residue on the skin. You can get this on Amazon, or you can try looking online, or you can even go to Kirkland. Those are the people who make it. I have bought this at Costco, and they come in a 2-pack, and I think it was like $15 to $20, but it was worth it because I don't go through that many gloves, and I use them for a long time. I can even wash my hands off with the alcohol, and it works really nice. Well, that's all I'm going to talk about today. Thank you for watching, and please fave and subscribe.